Like it's early. It's very early in the morning. But I wanted to talk to you guys. I wanted to go on like a little rant. It's a good way to start the morning. Good way to start the morning as anything. It's dark in here, so I don't have the video on. I don't see any point. I'm just doing this with my phone. I'm doing this like a normie would do it. We're gonna fight the normies with normie. We're gonna use normie technology to fight normies, right? We're gonna do up and down screen, pleb screen. Man, when I tell you I have normie fatigue, I got friends that go on. I don't use Facebook. I stopped using Facebook because of the normies. Because I realized that Facebook and Reddit and any website that doesn't allow freedom of speech really is basically a hive mind collective of normie slop. And the normies, they believe AI generated content is real. They're just really like is a ghetto now. Facebook is a plebeian ghetto full of just nonsense. Like I'm never gonna make a Facebook account ever again. I like how other people go on there and stir shit up on my behalf, but I really don't like Facebook. I really don't like plebeians. I really don't like people that hang out. Like I can't stress this enough. If you get banned from Facebook, it's a net positive to your life if you get banned from Facebook. Like getting banned from Facebook is the absolute best thing that could happen to you. Because Facebook, one thing is it's run by Zuckerberg, and it's just it's a safe space. It's a liberal safe space echo chamber, right? Unless you're a boomer neocon or a liberal or some type of NPC plebeian, like unless you're something like that, you're not going to do very well on Facebook. But I got total normie fatigue, guys. I'm so sick of normies. Literally, I tell you, man, normies will call the cops on you for basically existing when you're a guy like me. Like I have people that are friends of mine that work in law enforcement that they say, yeah, our non-emergency dispatch has gotten like 6 calls about you because they were concerned about this article that they saw on medium.com. And it's like, holy shit, man. Like these people call the police on me and waste law enforcement resources thinking I'm doing something illegal and they don't even know what the law is. Like they don't know the law themselves. They just like, holy shit, these people just work for the establishment for free. Like you're not getting paid to do this. You just do it for the love of the game. Like I really, really hate that, man. And it's like the boomers and the feminists have this weird, unholy alliance. The feminist rage mobs and the boomers have this hollow wisdom. It's not real wisdom. It's like this stupid shit where they think they're superior because they got, you know, as much money as I do, actually, really. At half their age, I have the money that they do. And it's like it's this just hollow shit where they think their opinion is so important. And God, I'm sick of normies, man. And they can't survive on a platform that has freedom of speech. They get fucking chased off. Like they can't survive on X.com. Well, even X doesn't allow freedom of speech because I'm banned from X, but it's more freedom of speech on there than it is on Facebook. Facebook and Reddit are just full of snowflake normie cowards. Like people that call the police on you and shit for nothing. Like, these people waste law enforcement's time. There's absolutely nothing illegal I'm doing out here. Every single thing I'm doing out here is completely above ground, completely legal. And it's like, holy crap, man. Boomers feel superior because they did old because they old and shit. Yeah. Yeah. I got, like I said, I got friends that were promoting the medium.com interview with me. And it's just some random guy on Telegram did 10 times better than the media ever could do. And that's another thing I hate about these normies is all they talk about is things I did 10 years ago. Let me tell you something that drives me up the wall that these women do in their search to be a victim. You'll have a girl that's older than you. So there's a girl that's 2 years older than me, okay? She was born in 1993, and she's going around telling everybody, he tried to have sex with me when I was a minor. You're 2 years older than me. So, like, explain to me how that works. You know what I mean? Explain to me how can you paint that as like, so she's trying to, like, you literally tell people he tried to sleep with me when I was a minor, but then you fail to mention the fact that you're actually 2 years older than the guy. Like that's like lying by omission. Like you're literally trying to incite a rage mob against somebody by saying he tried to sleep with me when I was a minor, not mentioning the fact that you're 2 years older than him. You're older than he is, right? Right. So you're trying to paint this picture that he's a groomer, but you're 2 years older than he is. How does that work? You're older than him. That's one thing these girls are doing, and it's just like it's just these normies, man. I can't stand them. It's like absolute. They're the enforcers. Like we could talk about the ruling class. We could have a conversation about the ruling class, but the ruling class would have no power without these mindless robot people that do their bidding. I got blackout and drunk in the woods camping, and they sent a search party out the next day. Wasn't until 3 hours after I joined to help them did they realize I was the person they were looking for. Yeah, yeah, that checks out. Yeah, our society is running on a very strange autopilot. Everybody's just kind of sleepwalking. Like you have to have a citizenry that just gives a fuck on some level, and nobody gives a fuck. Like people care, pretend to care about things, but it's it's very hollow. It's performative. Yeah, they're like, we're looking for somebody. Let me join your search, and then it's like you're actually the person they're looking for. That's pretty funny. Wow, what if a fugitive did that? What if an actual fugitive that they were looking for joined the search party and they're like, I'm here to search for this fugitive. Imagine if there's a wanted fugitive and you show up wearing some khaki 511 tactical pants and like a black polo and you got like a contractor cap on and you're like, I'm here to help search for the fugitive. That'd be pretty based if like a fugitive showed up to the search party to hunt for the like because the last thing you're gonna expect is that like the person helping you to find the fugitive is the fugitive. It's like hiding in plain sight. Like that's actually pretty. Yeah, he's shutting out, man. He's shutting out. Look at him. Look at him. Yeah, I fucking I don't have Facebook, but I looked at my friend like on Facebook. My friend logged into one of my computers and got on Facebook, and I just saw all the people talking crap about me on there. All the normies, all the liberals, all the NPC boomers, all the feminists, and it's like, holy crap, man! And they're only mad now. I'm going to tell you the real reason they're mad at me. They don't like this medium.com article where I did this interview and everybody sees that I'm on canoes and I'm happy and I have hobbies and I have money and I'm doing well. They don't want to see a chud out here doing well. They really don't. They want me to suffer forever. Like I'm supposed to just suffer forever because I did a prank 10 years ago. Like that's really what these people want. These people want my life to suck. They don't want me to have any money. They just see me doing well. And now all of a sudden they're coming out of the woodwork. You got a girl that's older than me. She's born in 1993 saying he had sex with, or he tried to have sex with me when I was a minor. And it's like, you're 2 years older than me. Yeah. So I was a teenager. I was probably 15 and I was trying to sleep with a 17-year-old. Does that sound like a predatory person? You get what I'm saying? If I'm 15 and I'm trying to sleep with a 17-year-old, if anything, by the hyper crazy logic, wouldn't she be the groomer? Wouldn't she be the weirdo? I mean, it's like, holy crap, man. I actually just woke up. My night is going pretty well. I just woke up. Like most people are going to bed. I literally just woke up. I got the strange sleep schedule. Yeah, that's me. Whoa. Sammy, my dog is attacking me. She spilled my water. You spilled my water, Sammy. Yep, that's me. Yeah, like, these people are a conformist mob. And I don't know what to do about them, man. And the crazy thing is, if there's a hurricane, if shit gets real and there's like a hurricane or some type of big disaster, all of a sudden they're going to be my friend because they know I have the resources and the connections and the radios and the comrades. They know that I have the logistics to get things done. So when they have a disaster, they want to be my, when they're going through a crisis, like if their house burns down or something, all of a sudden they want to be my friend. All of a sudden they reach out to me. But these same people will talk crap about me. I really, God, I got Normie fatigue, man. I hate them normies so bad. I don't think my fan base are normies. I don't think you could be. I mean, not my real base. I mean, yeah, sure. There's people that are subscribed to my channel that are like not chuds. Yeah, I'm sure out of the 12,000 subscribers, there might be some normies there. But I don't think normies are subscribed to my channel for the most part, especially the ones that really tune into my streams and stuff and really watch my But I want to stress the fact that it really is these normies. They are really the problem because the ruling class should have no power without them. Absolutely, they are 100%. Like you can tell, they are automatons. They have like absolute Pavlovian programming, mob psychology, and their programming is 100% comes from the ruling class. They have all these weird beliefs in their head, and these beliefs just make them dysfunctional. Like it's this crazy town. Like specifically the way women have been programmed is pretty kooky to me. Like it's just not functional. Like a woman will want to go work at a job at like 7-Eleven and live in a tiny little trailer or something and live paycheck to paycheck and have to go to payday loans just to survive. But if you tell her she should get married to a man that has money and resources, she's like, I don't want to depend on, I want to be independent. I want to be a girl boss. And it's like, well, I mean, you go to work every day and a man tells you what to do. So I don't understand how you're a girl boss when a man tells you what to do every day. You're not a girl boss. Whereas at least if you had a husband that has some money and some resources, you'd have like, I don't know, control over the household to some extent. I mean, at a bare minimum, I know any woman that lives with me, I don't control the kitchen. I let her control the kitchen. I let her control the bathroom and the kitchen are kind of like her domain, you know? So, I mean, at least then, like, you're really a part of, like, if a girl comes into my life and she's part of my world, that's 100% more empowering than, like, working at a fucking 7-Eleven. I mean, it's just stupid. You're going to go work for a man and you're going to have a man tell you what to do every day. But then you're going to say you're a girl boss. I have my career. I'm a girl boss. Okay, so you work at the 7-Eleven and then you live in a tiny little townhouse and then you pay for, the only way you can pay to live is you got to like do OnlyFans on the side. Like, this is so stupid. Like a lot of these women are just wasting time. You're just wasting time and your biological clock is 100% ticking. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What about like continuing your bloodline? What about like having a family and a household? Like, real stability comes from having a family. That's where like stability, having somebody really invested in you that cares about you. The fucking boss working at the little company you work for, those people are not your family. These companies will say, we are like a family at this company. Man, they'll do a restructuring. Imagine imagine your dad or your mom saying, we're doing some restructuring. Unfortunately, we have to let you go. Yeah, they say we're a family until they say we're doing some restructuring at this company. Oh no, we got somebody in the chat asking what a normie is. You don't know what a normie is? If you don't know what a normie is, you're probably a normie. You got two people in the world, man. You got two types of people. You got normies and you got Kekastanis. You got to be a Kekastani. Praise Kek. A normie is a person that is an automaton that basically fulfills all the needs and wishes of the ruling class for free. Basically, a normie is a servant of the ruling class that's been programmed. He's a robot. He's incapable of thinking for himself, and he just does whatever the crowd is doing. And the crowd has been programmed by the television and the mass media and the music. And basically, the crowd just believes whatever the ruling class tells them to believe. And they all believe that they're individuals because they use purple hair dye or blue hair dye, or because they wear this piece of clothing, or they use this type of shampoo or that. Basically, they all think they're individuals because they buy slightly different things when they go to Walmart. That's what their individuality is defined by what clothing they wear and what shampoo they wear. It's not individuality of thought or opinions, because there's only like a handful of tribes you're allowed to belong to. Sports teams, Republicans and Democrats, basically, you're allowed to belong to tribes that have no real meaning. They give all the power to the ruling class. Only tribes that are bought and paid for by, obscenely wealthy people are tribes you're allowed to belong to. And if they could, they'd rather you just be apolitical and just push that tribalism into a football team, because basically then you can simulate your tribalism with that. And then they want young men to just do porn all day and watch football. You get your sex and you get your battle and you get your tribalism. They just want to. It's so crazy. They're trying to destroy you, man. They're coming at you from all angles, and I don't think you can really beat them completely. You can just make the cost too high for them to fuck with you. I think where the rubber hits the road, guys, for real. If you want my real advice, law enforcement agencies, we need to run local elections and get some chuds to become sheriffs. That's what I'm trying to do in Wakulla County. And the reason we need to do that is we need to control the enforcement arm of the state, the men with the guns. Okay, that's the most important thing. We need to take the sheriff elections more seriously. That's where the most men with guns are. That's the real crux of the power. Okay, if the men with guns don't comply with the ruling class's edicts, then there's nothing they can really do at that point. But the problem is you can't get control of that if you don't get people out of this trance. You got to get people out of the mind control, and it's very hard to snap them out of it. Like I said, I've said this before. I'll red pill somebody, and they'll revert to normie behavior the very next day because they're just so used to it. They don't know how to stop, even if you've shown them that their entire worldview is objectively wrong. They'll go straight back to all the normie behavior the very next day, and people have been conditioned to do this, and they just do it for the love of the game, man. That's what pisses me off the most. You're not getting paid to do it. Like at least clavicular, he's got a meeting with Peter Thiel, and they do their thing, and they're trying to create a new cosmetic industry for men, and it's $1 billion industry for women already, and so they're trying to create that for men, so now they can make men feel like they're not manly enough and sell them makeup like they do women, and that's they don't even realize, like, when you sit and think about it, that's kind of, am I allowed to say that's gay? I don't want to get in trouble at YouTube, but that's kind of feminine. A man putting makeup on in the morning, like, isn't that kind of like, isn't that kind of feminine? So, if you're feeling insecure about your masculinity, like, putting makeup on your face, I don't think that's going to help. I think that's going to make the situation even worse. Yeah, I don't think, me personally, I don't think that's going to help you very much. Can I do 5 sit-ups? Yeah, sure I can. I can do 5 sit-ups. A normie is also someone whose beliefs are dogmatic and controlled by dogma. Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I would say what all normies have in common is they have Pavlovian responses to things. So if you want to test if somebody's a normie, try just throwing a wrench at them. Like, try, okay, what I mean is not literally throwing a wrench. Like, try throwing something at them that is unexpected and see if they have a predictable response. I even do this I do this to white nationalists, even, because they'll think they're based, and just to get them upset, like, just to kind of be a troll, because obviously I'm sympathetic to ethno-nationalism. I believe in tribalism. Like, I think that's normal and healthy and just human nature. But I'll say something like, I got this new girlfriend, Shaniqua, just to troll them. Like, just to troll them. Like, I'll literally go in a Discord server or Telegram, and I'll tell them, yeah, I got this new girlfriend, Shaniqua. She's still a fascist, just in a more chocolatey way. And I'll do this literally just to piss people off, just to get the Pavlovian response. And it's like, you got to use your brain to critically think about everything. And yeah, you could be against certain things, and that's fine. It's good to have morals and principles and values, but, like, you shouldn't have, like, a knee-jerk reaction to me making a trolling comment if I'm joking. Like, you have to be able to think outside the box about things. Like, if you have an immediate knee-jerk reaction to being told something, it means you're programmed. It means you're conditioned, and that's dangerous. Even if you're based, that's still dangerous. You don't want to have knee-jerk reactions to shit, because you miss the details, and you end up glossing over like, that's really the mark of a NPC right there, is to just have a tribal knee-jerk reactions to every fucking thing. And it's great to be tribal, but the exalted man that really does stuff in life doesn't think this way, isn't on autopilot having knee-jerk reactions all the time. I was the dude growing cabbage in your Telegram. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, growing your own food is based. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with tribalism. Like, wanting your kids to look like you is fine. Like, I think that's just healthy and normal to want your kids to look like you. The only reason I say stuff like, the only reason I've done pranks like going into Telegram and saying, I have a new girlfriend, her name is Shaniqua. It's because nobody is immune from trolling from me. I will troll anybody. Nobody's immune from it. Like, I like to have fun, and so it's basically like, oh, you think I'm not going to troll you, huh? Just because you're based, you're going to get trolled too. Like, it's basically like this thing where nobody in my orbit is allowed to be a snowflake. Nobody. So that's why, I'll be in a room full of white nationalists, and I'll be like, I have a new girlfriend. Her name is Shaniqua. You guys better not have a problem with her. And it's literally just me fucking around. I'm just trolling. Because, like I said, nobody in my orbit is allowed to be a snowflake. You can't have Pavlovian knee-jerk reactions to things and be in my inner circle. Because I need you to be more analytical than this. You can't. You got to be in control of your emotions if you want to be in my inner circle. You got to be willing to like sit and process things. And it's just like a test of mine. Well, I mean, what do you mean it's hateful? What's hateful? What that's see this whenever somebody says you're being hateful, I that's not really an argument. That's just like this. That's another like mind control thing. What's hateful? There's really nothing hateful about me. You know, I just want my kids to look like me, and I love my own culture and my own people. Like that's not. There's nothing hateful about me. That's another thing is these liberals that hate me and they call me racist. Like the funny thing is when I went to prison, I met more communities of different races and different ethnic groups than these liberals ever have. The people calling me a so-called racist or whatever, they see my tattoos and they're like, "Oh, you're a racist," and it's like, well, I've actually met more people from other races than you have. That's the crazy thing. It's offensive to make jokes on other cultures because of the history and many look, man, you gotta fulfill your own destiny. You can't be held down by, oh, that joke is offensive. If you're really have will to power and you really have a life and you really have a foundation, you have a constitution. We're talking about the U.S. Constitution. What is your constitution? If you know that you're on a certain level, you don't let somebody's jokes and trolling really like annoy you don't let that get to you. It's a sign of weakness. Being easily offended is a sign of weakness. It is. It's like when people are easily offended by things, it's 100% you're just showing the world like I'm a plebeian. You know what I mean? Being easily offended by everything, because a truly intelligent person is willing to understand what a thought experiment is, or willing to hear something offensive and be like, "Oh, okay, let's hear this out. Why is it offensive? Why does it upset me?" That's a real sign of maturity and introspection and intelligence. Like being easily offended by everything, and somebody makes a comment that you don't like or whatever. Oh, I'm offended. Again, we're going right back to the knee-jerk reactions, the Pavlovian responses, the fucking mind control, normie, NPC stuff. We're right back to that. And like I said, everybody's capable of it. There's even people that agree with me that are on that mindset. And I'm trying to break everybody that mindset because hold on, guys, I gotta sit up. I gotta sit up because my sinuses are getting to me. I'm trying to break everybody of that mindset because that's how you end up getting controlled. No, tell me about that. Who is committing the anti-Asian hate? Oh yeah, I think I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, and it wasn't white people doing that. Let's just say that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not. There's definitely people of all races that watch my videos, but one thing that my fans know that are not white is like I tell everybody you have to pursue your own destiny. Like you can't have some other race be your savior. You can't do that. You shouldn't want to do that because the self-esteem and respect of like if I was a black person, I would want black self-esteem and respect. I wouldn't want some white savior. Why would you want that? And that's how are you going to have, that's another thing worth saying is if black people are going to be saved, they have to save themselves. And then they'll know that they did it on their own without white people's help. And that's true dignity and self-respect, and like knowing that you pulled yourself out of it. If another race pulls them up out of their depression, then it's like, you see what I'm saying? You can't be saved by somebody else. It'll destroy your self-esteem. So you've got to let them save themselves. We can't save them, for one. It just violates the laws of nature. And it's not, even if you do save them, it's like, they imagine living with the fact that you know that you couldn't save yourself and some other group had to come save you. That wreaks havoc on the self-esteem of a group. So black people have to save themselves. They've got to. Loving your own equals hate. Nice logic. Like, I was openly nationalist in my school, but in my friend group, we only had me and another white guy out of 10 of us. Yeah, well, you're going to find that as things get worse, the normies are going to be more open to more radical solutions. But the problem is the normies are the ones that come later. You need to trust them less. The people that come later, like once you fall on really economic hard times, like let's say the US dollar gets worth less and less, and the normies start getting a little more radical, I'm weary of the people that weren't standing by my side 10 years ago. No offense to the newer people, but the people that were, and it also depends on how old you are. It might not be your fault. But all I'm saying is, if you're 40 right now, where were you when we needed you 10, 15 years ago? One has to ask that question. Okay, well, now you go to the grocery store and you really feel the consequences of some of the decisions that have been made. And now you're radical, but it's like, we tried to warn you about this. When I was 18 years old, like 15 years ago or whatever, like we really tried to warn everybody about this. And where were those people then? So, I'm not saying people can't, turn it around and stop being NPCs, but I'm very wary of people that don't get radical until this stuff personally affects them. I just wouldn't put those people in the same tier as the people that saw the writing on the wall when the getting was good, basically. Like during economic hard times, sure, people are more susceptible to becoming more radical. But if things were great and they didn't see it when things were great, you get what I'm saying? There's definitely two types of men as far as that. Yeah, so the Hart-Celler Act was not presented as a thing that would change the demographics of the United States. And had it been presented for what it was, it would have never have succeeded. Nobody would have done any of this if they knew it would look like the way it looks today. The Hart-Celler Act was, Hart and Celler, one was, I believe one was a Catholic and one was a Jew. And they're the ones that, it was an immigration act that changed the demographic makeup of America. I'm sure there's somebody in the chat that knows more about it than me that could explain it. But, the word racist is really just the word tribalist. They've taken that word, it's interchangeable. You know what I mean? And it's basically like a racist is, like the word tribalism and racism are the same thing. Now, you could be a tribalist and be an asshole about it. And being an asshole about it is just what a racist is, basically. But a racist and tribalist are fundamentally kind of the same thing. And them calling you a racist instead of calling you a tribalist is a Orwellian mind control technique. The word racist wasn't widely used until like the 1960s. That word wasn't even a popular word in like my grandpa's lifetime until later. And it has its roots in Marxist literature. There's a lot of evidence that Leon Trotsky may have invented the word racist. I'm not saying he did, but the word racist came out of the Marxist literary tradition. That's where the word racist first showed up. And it was in the 1920s. It was in Marxist books where the word racist first starts appearing. And the word racist wasn't widely used until like the 1960s. So the word racist is literally a Pavlovian psychological warfare conditioning thing. There's this term. Okay, so European societies are shame based, and so they come up with the word racist, and it's this heavily stigmatized word. They put all this imagery with it. This church in Birmingham was bombed, and the terrorism and great, and they put all this history into this word, and they really drill it in there, like, they make these movies about it, and they really make it to where you're just terrified of being called this word. And so what that does is it overrides your critical thinking. And so you're so terrified of being called racist that you're unable to basically think for yourself. Like it shuts off the critical thinking switch. And so the word racist is basically if you control the terminology, then you control the ideology, right? And so you don't call it tribalism, you call it racism, because you don't want people to be tribal. You're trying to make an empire where everybody basically serves the empire instead of serving their tribe. And so you rebrand tribalism and you start calling it racism. And this is the psychological warfare trick of the 20th century. This is the biggest psychological warfare trick of the 20th century. And they began working on it immediately after World War II. They said, we need to take this new word racist, and we need to call anybody that retains their tribalism, particularly Europeans, we're going to call them racist, because we're going to have an empire where we're going to drive down the cost of labor and replace the people that have already been born here and stuff like that. And that's what they want to do, is they want to import people that will work more hours for less money, and they want an easy to control population. And that's really what the word racist is about having populations that are easy to control, that don't question narratives, that don't retain any authentic cultural expression. And the only expression that's allowed is like what shampoo you buy when you go to Walmart, or what clothing you wear. It's just shallow crap, like what video game you play or something, what football team you support, and that's not culture. That's not true, authentic culture, at least. I mean, I guess in a way, a video game could be a work of art, and it could be cultural, and it could be profound. But, that's not the blood that runs through your veins. That's not the sacred, bond you have with your bloodline. That's something that everybody can understand it, really. But only truly enlightened people can really understand, like, if you're black, you have connection to your African ancestors. If you're white, you have connection to your European ancestors. If you're Asian, you got that samurai shit going on. Everybody has some shit to be proud of, okay? Even black people, they're very good with rhythm. They're very good with like dance and rhythm and stuff. They clearly have some kind of talent with that, and I think that's because they'd have bonfires, and they would have mating ceremonies and stuff that involve song and dance. That's probably how they would attract female partners in a lot of their societies. And I think that gives them an edge in certain endeavors involving rhythm and song and dance and stuff like that, and certain athletics and stuff, and then Asians have, they have their kind of extreme Bushido code samurai stuff, that's their thing. And then, the Europeans, we have our kind of Viking berserker rage, which kind of gets activated when you piss us off, when you bully us long enough, which I think is going to come out eventually. I think we've been lulled into a sleep by, the Industrial Revolution. Ultimately, the end game was we made food that's, I know it's inflated now, but by inventing stuff like peanut butter and seed oils and cornstarch and corn syrup and food preservatives and canning and stuff like that, we really created a society where food was pretty easy to get, and you didn't have to grow it locally anymore. And we really, with manufacturing and and now increasingly with like automation, we've really created a society where we're divorced from nature. We're divorced from reality, and we can afford to have luxury beliefs and to not critically think about, is this in our best interest? People just they get fed, and that's all they care about. The normies, they're like, they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. That's the way they see it. And so they don't want to be called racist. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to, but you'll notice as jobs get harder to get, as the money becomes worth less and less, you'll notice so-called racism becomes more and more popular. I would say that so-called racism, which is really tribalism, is tied to the value of the U.S. dollar. I would say those two things are heavily correlated. If you see a decrease in the value of the U.S. dollar, you will see an increase in so-called racism, because everybody was bribed to not be a so-called racist with money and jobs. Okay. And that was the social contract, and it's like, you kind of toe the line of society. If you have a job, you got a career, you have a house, you have a girlfriend that gives you blowjobs sometimes, then you're going to like, maybe I don't want to be called racist. But if you don't have a job and, you're living in a camper van on your dad's property and you don't have a girlfriend, you can't get a job, nobody's hiring you, what incentive do you have to toe the line for these people and to believe in their ridiculous stuff? Like, you lose all incentive to cooperate. So if you want people to be good little slaves, you have to kind of give them their little bread and circuses. You got to give them their little money and their little trinkets and stuff. But these days, like, they've replaced the workers with like these H-1B visa people. You've taken all the leverage away. Like, these people used to have jobs and they used to have girlfriends, but you've taken their money away and you've taken their vagina away. And now they're incel chuds and they got their AK-47s and they got nothing to lose. That's kind of where we're at. I know that sounds crazy, but it's, I said the other day, let's say you got a house full of chuds, radical chuds, Chudwaffen division, right? And the local sheriff's office shows up with the SWAT team. Well, the sheriffs, they all have families, they have a career, and they have a girlfriend. They're kind of with the state, so they get all this kind of social protection from the community and the state. The normies kind of put a aura around them. They kind of hang out in the gym all day. They got a career, they got a girlfriend, and so the state kind of gives them some of the benefits because they're the enforcement arm. Okay, well, the chuds with the AK-47s, they don't got no girlfriend, they don't got no career, they got nothing to lose, they don't own anything, right? So, like, if you had a bunch of chuds that were armed against, say, a local like law enforcement agency, I would say the chuds have the advantage just because it's like they'll fight harder. They got nothing to lose, And again, it's just a theoretical, philosophical exercise. But no, I'm a pagan. I worship Odin and Thor, and I believe in aliens, and I believe in beings that have been around for billions of years that are exalted because they have life extension technology and they've understood on a deeper level the laws of nature. And I think there's beings with interdimensional traveling capability that don't experience time and space the same way we do. I think there's beings that have extended their lifespan, and when you're able to live through cybernetics billions of years, you're able to unlock pretty advanced technology. But anyways, that's kind of a derailment. That's not really today's topic. The chuds are the SS without the painter. More like the SA without the painter, really. And look, there's all these psyops going on. Like I tell you guys right now, Jake Lang is a psyop. He kissed the wall and everything. Jake Lang is 100% a psyop. And, he's Jake. Well, why is Jake Lang doing this thing? Well, his main thing is he goes after the Muslims that are in the United States. Well, here's the thing, right? They're trying to stir up the anti-Muslim thing, but who let the Muslims in to begin with? And then why are we always having situations with Muslims? Who stirs that shit up? Why do the Muslims hate us? These are questions worth asking, And then the timing of Jake Lang shows up And I'm telling you, Jake Lang, he kissed the wall, bro. I mean, there's a picture of him kissing the wall. That's everything. And then he keeps getting arrested over and over and over again. Bro, look at my criminal record and look at Jake Lang's criminal record. How come every time I get arrested, I don't get bond? I don't get anything. They send me to prison for years for nothing. And this guy gets arrested over and over and over and over again. And every single time he gets out of jail. And he kissed the wall. Come on, man. Jake Lang is a psyop. He's 100% a psyop. I'm telling you. I mean, and you people can get mad at that, and they can have their little Pavlovian knee-jerk response. No, he's based. Not really, man. Because he's only going after Muslims. And why is he only going after Muslims? Because it's a psyop. Because they want anti-Muslim sentiment because they want us to go to war with Iran. That's their goal. And again, do I think that you should have situations like Dearborn, Michigan? No. I think, they've completely taken over whole communities. Yeah, I'm against that. But at the same time, what am I more against? Well, I think you guys know what I'm more against. This dynamic where, we have to go to war with Iran for our so-called greatest ally that isn't even our ally. If we get attacked, they don't have to defend us. But if they get attacked, we have to defend them. That's not an ally. That's a parasitic relationship. Well, yeah, Dearborn was self-inflicted. A lot of this stuff was self-inflicted, man. I'm part of the problem. I got my roof put on recently. A new roof. I got a new roof put on my house. And guess who did that? I'm part of the problem, man. It wasn't my own people that did that. We're all part of the problem. We've gotten lazy. I've gotten lazy. We're all part of the problem. We did this to ourselves. Most of us played a part in the problem. We do this to ourselves in a lot of ways. And to some extent, it's almost inescapable. But you can do things to make up for it. And when you find yourself me with the situation with the roof, okay, I made up for it because I donated to a certain cause. I'm not going to say which cause I donated to on this stream, but you can imagine. Okay. So whenever you find yourself compromised because there's no other option, because there was no other option. The only roofers I had access to was, foreigners. There was no locals, people that were born here that want to be roofers. Nobody wants to get up in 102-degree weather on top of a metal roof to do roofing that was born here. Not that many people, at least. We couldn't find any. And so it's just basically, if you find yourself in a situation where you have to make a compromise like that, you just make up for it later by giving money to the right causes or whatever. But it's inescapable to a large extent. I would just remember that the word racism and the word tribalism are interchangeable. It just means the same thing. The only thing that racism is the word tribalism. The word tribalism has been turned into the word racism. That's the biggest takeaway. If you want to know the psyop of the 20th century, that was the biggest psyop of the 20th century. Because with that, you get rid of everything else. Now you get rid of the family unit. Now you start saying that, there's no difference between men and women, and all the other crazy stuff comes with that. Because first you convince people that their own tribe is something evil. Guys, I got to take a piss real quick. I'm going to put the phone down. I'll be right back. I'll be back in 10 seconds, okay? Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. All right, I'm back. I'm back, guys. But Yeah, the biggest psyop of the 20th century was rebranding tribalism and telling everybody that is racism. Oh, my doggy's messing with me. Hey, Sammy Jimmy. All right, get on, get on. Oy vey. Well, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of normies, a lot of NPCs, they have somebody up there in their noggin pulling the levers. You've seen the episode of SpongeBob where Plankton was controlling SpongeBob? You basically have people that are like that. And they're, but it's not even, that gives them too much dignity though, because at least if Plankton is literally in your brain controlling you like SpongeBob, at least then you can say like it's not their fault. Like if you got a head crab on you like Half-Life 2, if you're a zombie, you literally had an infection go in there and you've lost your free will. But you have like lowered the drawbridge and let all this poisonous stuff into your head, and like now you're like an automaton for the ruling class. They're not even actively in your head. Like it's not even like that. It's worse than that, because they knowingly, enthusiastically, the fact that they're not zombies are better, because at least a zombie has lost its free will. You can't blame a zombie for what it does because it has a virus or something. Or, you can't blame like a head crab zombie from Half-Life 2 for being a head crab zombie. It's got a head crab on its head. He's not in control of his actions. Whereas an NPC normie is way worse than a zombie, because they've let the drawbridge down, and they've allowed themselves, like freely and voluntarily, like to become a zombie of the ruling class for free. I mean, these people on Facebook, the normies, the people that like do this little sniveling shit to try to shut me down, like the people that harass the cops all day. Jordan is doing this, people call the cops all day on me, even though I haven't done anything illegal. I mean, they're just doing it for the love of the game. Nobody's even paying them to do it. I mean, at least like a agent of the Southern Poverty Law Center is getting paid to come after you. These normies, man, they do it for the love of the game. That's why we have to do it for the love of the game. You have to volunteer your time. You have to give your hearts and hands to fighting normies 100%. And if you don't, I'm telling you, there's just legions of people that, let the ruling class do their thinking for them. And you're never going to have freedom unless you start doing this for the love of the game, because they have a lot of zombies that are on autopilot. And the crazy thing, like I said, they're worse than zombies because they have a little bit of creativity, just enough to cause you problems. So they have enough creativity to go to Google and type in, what is the number for the local sheriff's office? And to have a conversation with like one of the detectives and say, this guy, he likes to wear camo a lot, and I think he might, be an extremist. And I think you should look into him. Like they have enough intelligence to cause you problems. They don't have enough intelligence to think. It's really worse than a zombie. Like a zombie is a total dummy. You know what I mean? So NPCs are way more dangerous, way worse than zombies. Yeah, basically MK Ultra automatons. And they and they're on both sides of the political spectrum. I mean, both the political parties are owned by the same people. I mean, the ruling class owns the Democrats and the Republicans. And, I hear people on the right these days, they literally just say, well, at least the Trump isn't taking our guns. That's a bare minimum. Like them not taking your guns. Well, I mean, they're not going to take your guns anyway if you're a man. You know what I mean? You know how many convicted felons have big stockpiles of guns and they can't legally have them now? I'm just saying, like, you know how many people in Australia have big stockpiles of guns and they can't legally have right now? Like taking your guns, that's a non-issue. You know what I mean? Listen, like I said earlier, you got a house full of chuds with AK-47s. They don't have a wife, they don't have kids, they don't have a job, and a bunch of sheriff's deputies, a bunch of men with a wife and kids and a career are going to come take the guns of a bunch of chuds with nothing to lose. Hell no, it's not going to happen. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen, bro. The chuds are not going to give up their guns. If they were going to give up their guns, you better have a girl giving them a blowjob every night, living in their house, and you better give them a good job and a good career and good health care. All they got is their guns. It's the only thing the chud has left is his guns. So when people say, "Oh, at least the Republicans aren't taking their guns," if you're a man, nobody's taking your guns anyway. I'm just being honest. And if they wanted any chance in hell at taking guns, you'd have to have a happy population that's satisfied with their rulers, and you don't have that. You know, if you wanted to confiscate guns from young men, the first thing you do is make sure they all have girlfriends, make sure they're all getting blowjobs every night, make sure they have a good job, good career, good health care, make sure they have a house and kids, and make sure they have something to lose. If you wanted to confiscate guns, that's the first thing you'd have to do. But no, if you're a young chud, the AK-47 is one of the only things you have left. And I'm not advocating violence. I'm just saying your ability to defend yourself from criminals and your ability to potentially defend yourself from the state, that's the only thing you have left. I mean, Siri was on Blue Sky, the adult film star Siri. She was talking about me the other day, and she's like, he probably sleeps with his guns. Or that might have been one of her. She was talking about me, and I think it was one of her friends or something that said that. Or it was either her or one of her friends. But anyways, yeah, chuds are sleeping with their guns. Yeah, they'll give their. I know a guy that named his rifle Elizabeth, and he sleeps with his rifle every night. I mean, and he calls her Lily Bell, and he sleeps with his rifle every night. You're damn right the chuds sleep with their rifles. And it's like, I had to escape the matrix of the dating world by becoming famous in the women's prison system by spending like a bunch of money on Securus. Like I literally had to do some strange, crazy psych warfare, esoteric, social engineering shit just to break out of the matrix. And then I have to every relationship I'm in, even if I don't stay with the girl forever, like if me and her end up breaking up, I still keep pictures of me and my exes. And there's several reasons I do this. One is because girls like to say, this person was terrible. And it's like, well, here's a picture of you and me smiling. You seem pretty happy. And then another reason you do it is the social capital, so that more girls will, another reason you do it is people want to accuse you of being an incel. So whenever somebody throws that in your face and you got a picture of you cuddling with a girl, there you go. And then another reason you do it is because of the pre-selection factor. More girls will want to be with you if they've seen you've been with, So there's like 10 different reasons. If you and a girl are together and you end up breaking up, yes, you should hold on to the photos of you and her together. You should have like a collection. You should document all your old relationships. And when you get in a new one, the girls are going to try to delete those photos because they're going to try to de-inflate your sexual marketplace value. That's what they do. They try to get you fat. They try to delete the photos of you with other girls and everything. So just get a USB thumb drive and hide it somewhere in case that relationship doesn't work. You know what I mean? Or just make sure your friends have those old pictures or whatever, right? Just make sure those old pictures are archived somewhere so that if you end up being single again, you have your relationship portfolio, if that makes any sense. None of the people here are hateful, but hatred of Disney, thinking tribalism is always good. Well, I mean, I don't really like Disney because it's just, it's, Disney had, well, Walt Disney himself was actually kind of based. It's funny you brought up Disney. Let's talk about Disney. Well, Walt Disney himself was actually kind of based. He actually had some pretty based ideas, um, but we won't really go into that. Yeah, Disney. Walt Disney himself based. Disney the company not so based. Oh well, maybe Disney wasn't so based after all. Then Walt Disney. Henry Ford was kind of based, but then again, uh, you guys point to what happened in Dearborn. They wanted cheap labor for the auto manufacturing. That's the thing, man. We're the victim of our own laziness, time and time again. You know, I posted the other day that most of our problems come from not drinking enough water. You know, you think you're hungry because you haven't drank enough water. That's what I've started to realize. Yeah, I know there's all types of crazy. I remember they exposed how cocoa melon was frying kids' brains. The TV show Cocoa Melon, and I I just think, man, this society is so evil, man. You know what I mean? It's just this. It's a society that's evil. You got Cocoa Melon frying your kid's brain, but you're too busy on Facebook, and you were born in 1993, and I was born in 1995. You're 2 years older than me, talking about you tried to sleep with me when I was a minor. You're older than me. You're 2 years older than me. Like you get what I'm saying? Like I was 15 and you were 17. you're you're the weirdo. You're older than me. Anyways, like that's the thing, man. People worry about the wrong shit. Oh, 15 years ago, Jereb said this, and all these accusations people have against me that are like I don't even deny most of them because it's not even like, okay, a girl that's 2 years older than me claims that when I was a teenager, I tried to sleep with her. And then she's just saying it out of context. She's saying it like, oh, when I was a minor, he tried to sleep with me. Okay, well, you're 2 years older than me. We were both minors and you were the older one, you know? Anyway, and while you're doing that, your kid's in front of the TV watching Coco Melon getting his brain fried. Like you're worried about the wrong shit there, sweetheart. You know what I mean? And the only reason these people say this shit is because they see a chud out here, happy and successful. They see a guy like me making money and happy and successful, and these liberals just hate it. They fucking hate it. They don't want to see a guy like me. They wanted to destroy my life. That was always their goal back in 2019. And they see that I just bounced back and that I wasn't destroyed by their little bullshit. Adam Waffle. Jereb is the leader of the Adams Waffle Division. The Adams Waffles. The Adams Waffles Division. We live in the Chud Renaissance. This period will be known as the Chudian Renaissance, and we'll have the Chud Imperium soon. The Chud Imperium. The Timmy Turner Diaries. I wish the government. I wish the government wasn't trying to take my guns. It's funny. You have Timmy Turner, okay, Fairly Odd Parents, and then you have Timothy McVeigh, and then you have the Turner Diaries, and then in Fairly Odd Parents, his name is Timmy Turner. That's a hell of a conspiracy right there, guys. Timmy Turner. So you have Timothy McVeigh, Timmy, and he was influenced by the Turner Diaries. And then they do the Fairly Odd Parents, Timmy Turner. And it is a dog whistle. Nickelodeon is secretly based and wants you to. Nickelodeon was trying to get you to do something to a federal building. I'm kidding, but it is funny. Like, it is a pretty funny coincidence. My dog is acting crazy. It's too early, Sammy. Too early. I think I'm going to do a comedy skit because you know how I do comedy skits on my channel very rarely. I don't do them that often, but I'm going to get a dog whistle, an actual dog whistle, and I'm going to make a video saying, I sure do love to dog whistle my audience. Like, or something like that, like as a comedy set. Like, I'll make a video with dogs in it, and I'll say, here's a dog whistle. I sure love dog whistles. My audience loves dog whistles too. Yeah, I think that'd be funny for like a video. Is Bob alive? Yeah, Bob's alive. I wasn't really gonna do that. I was bluffing. I ain't living like that. It's okay to love your own. Yeah. No, Bob ain't gonna get it. It was a bluff the whole time. It was a psychological. But I tell you what, we might do maybe we'll do a mock ex. You ever seen the movie Inside Man, where they pretended to kill hostages but they didn't really do it? We're gonna do like a mock execution of Bob. I'll have like a white sheet over the dummy, and then I'll be like, the blood is on your hands." That might be a good follow up, but I actually lost 2 subscribers from that little skit. Like, sometimes I'll lose 1 or 2 subscribers in a video, and I don't really care because, like, that's just me getting rid of people that were never really my real subscribers anyway. Like, if I lose 1 or 2 subscribers when I make a video, I knew they were like it. Like, if somebody sees like a skit of me being funny, like, I knew they were really never really my real subscribers anyway. They were never really, fans of mine anyway. Wow, you actually found the Bob video? That's how you found me? I'm really trying to get it to where my content appears in the search engines. And one thing I'm really good at is search engine optimization. That's one thing I'm very skilled at. I'm very skilled at getting something to show up in a search engine. Have I ever played BAP? What's BAP? The fire rises. I do want to play The Fire Rises, but I have to download Hearts of Iron, and I'm not like a Hearts of Iron player. And then I have to download the Fire Rises mod. So it's just there's a big learning curve there, and I've just been so busy. Oh, guys, you're not going to believe this, man. Nito Benito. Nito Benito is in hot water right now. He didn't really get in any real trouble, but I'm going to tell you what he did. He kind of crossed the line on some things. So Nito Benito's in a little bit of trouble. Not really. He didn't get arrested or nothing, but like it's kind of unclear what consequences will come out of this. But Nito Benito, so you guys might remember I made a video called "The Teachers Are Too Hot, like why students can't focus." And in this video, I advanced the position that, I showed my high school teachers, but I had their faces blurred out. Okay. So I protected their privacy in that video. Well, Nito Benito has pictures of my old high school teachers, and he has pictures of them in like bikinis and all types of crazy stuff. Like, I don't even know how he got this stuff, man. Well, actually, I do know how he got it. I don't really want to talk about it. But the thing is, like, he took the pictures of them and he made AI versions of them. Not anything crazy, though, just AI versions of them, like holding rifles and stuff. And like he put them on album covers of his music. So he's literally got like my high school teachers on album covers on his music. And I'm like, bro, like, you can't be doing that. And then he told this girl that we know, I'm not going to say who, he told her about it. And she went, sorry, she went and fucking told the fucking teachers. Like, she literally reached out to them and like, hey, Nito Benito has been putting you on like the album covers of your albums and stuff. So it was kind of weird. And Nito backpedaled and like took some of the albums and like set them to private on his channel. And I'm like, I don't know if you should do that. Backpedaling just kind of makes you look weak. I mean, you've already committed to it. But I don't know if he can legally do that. Like, can you legally like just put, but he's not making money off most of his music. Like, he's not making money off those specific albums, at least. So like kind of like a legal gray area. Like, can you put these people on the album if the source material of you generating this is like from like publicly available stuff? I don't know. Like, I think it's against the YouTube terms of service. Maybe it seems like a gray area, but it's just awkward. Part of the reason I made the stupid video about my old high school teachers is because everybody I know is so obsessed with them. It isn't me, bro. It's I know people are going to say that I'm lying, but no, truly, all my friends that went to high school can't stop talking about these fucking people. And it's like I got one friend that's obsessed with them and hates them. I got some other friends that are kind of like gaga about them because they're hot, and I think they're kind of hot, but I'm just not like I'm just not like sitting there thinking about them and shit like my old friends are from high school. Seem kind of obsessed with the teachers compared to me. I mean, I take note of it, and I used to be in the group chat and then everybody would start talking about, hey, did you hear that Miss Collins went to the beach and we got these new bikini photos of her? Bobby, I'm just making up a name. Bobby added her on Facebook, and she actually accepted the friend request, and we have bikini photos of her, and that is appealing at like 18, 19 years old. It's not appealing at 31. It just doesn't interest me like that. But it does interest Nito Benito, even though he didn't even go to that school. That's the funny thing. Just the fact that everybody in ROF, a lot of the people in my ROF unit went to the same school. So, and so he wanted to make songs like basically as a living meme, not really to troll them, but just as like a living meme. It's again, it's just like deep inside jokes that not everybody would understand. But if you want to know who's on Nito Benito's album covers, it's random emo hipster girls he met in Tallahassee, and it's teachers from my old high school. And the teachers actually found out that they're on his album covers, and they weren't happy. Would American leaders, especially if they are white tribalism aligned, let Israel tell them what to do? Yeah, it's ironic how they're so against tribalism, yet their so-called greatest ally is quite possibly the most tribal group ever. Tribalism is only bad when we do it. I mean, it's I mean, this isn't even universal logic. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's why I like, I mean, you could say what you want about Stefan Molyneux, but at least there's consistency. There's like a sense of universal logic, you know? Peace Corps? No, I wasn't involved with that. Uh, Sam Hyde. Yeah, I wonder if Sam Hyde will ever acknowledge my existence. Wonder if we can get him to do that. Well, considering we really should be able to do that, considering that I did the same exact type of prank as him. Listen, the prank that got me sent to prison was the same shit Sam Hyde did 20 times. I went to prison for it. You know, like you remember like 10 different occasions they tried to say the shooter was the notorious Sam Hyde. Like, you know what I mean? I did that one time, and basically they used it as an excuse to have the FBI raid me for no reason, and they did all kinds of crazy shit. The same thing Sam Hyde did 20 times. I did it one time and got slammed for it. So, you know, and it wasn't even, like I said, it wasn't even my thing. It was really 4chan came up with it, and I just kind of played along with it. So, I mean, yeah, Gypsy went to jail for like 3 years. I did 78 months. So, all in all, I did over 5 years when you factor in gain time. So, well, there's a lot of props in my videos. Okay. Like the things in my videos are props. If I did have a real rifle, I wouldn't talk about it on here. I'm not saying I do, not saying I don't. I'm not confirming or denying, you know. Yeah, everything in the videos is airsoft. If I did have a real gun, I'm not saying I do, not saying I don't. But if I did, I wouldn't talk about it on YouTube. That's for sure. Um, isn't Gypsy Crusader going to fight Azule? I'm not going to lie. I think I could hold my own against Azule just because I saw him fight. There's a video where we actually saw him fight. And, you know, I think, honestly, I think I could hold my own against Azule. I don't think I'd be able to beat him like that, you know, because I'm not really a fist fighter. But like, I honestly believe me and Azule would be pretty evenly matched. and I'm not a fist fighter. Like I use weapons in fights, but I think if you put boxing gloves on me and you put boxing gloves on King Azule, I think we'd be pretty evenly matched. I think Gypsy Crusader will obliterate King Azule. That's what I think. And I think if you put me in a boxing ring with King Azule, I believe we'd be like evenly matched. I think he'd have like, he maybe would be able to beat me up, but I don't think so. I think it'd be like a tie. Well, Azule works out more than me, and he's in better physical shape than me at the moment. Like if I trained for like a month, I could beat him up. Like I just hands down. Well, because the difference is Azule didn't spend 5 years in prison. You know, Azule is not on the same level as me in terms of like I'm just not as scared. I don't care about anything. I don't care. Like, like it's just I've already lived a pretty fulfilling life for a 31-year-old, and I've already experienced real danger, and I'm just not scared like in a boxing ring. I'm not scared to have my nose broken. I'm not scared to have it. That's not real. It's just not real trauma. It's not real to me. It just isn't. It's not, it's like getting punched in the face, over and over again, having a black eye and a broken nose. I'll just take some Advil dual action and I'll just go to sleep at the end of the day, and it is what it is. I've already had it happen so many times that I'm just not. You guys see the scars on my face in my videos, right? So it's just not. It's not. I don't look at the world probably the same way he does. The main advantage I have over him is I just don't care. He wants to protect his pretty little face. Oh, I'm a pretty boy. My face. Oh, I want to protect my face. I'm not like that. You know. Well, yeah, it is messed up. It's the same exact thing Sam Hyde and his guys did 20 times. And he didn't have the FBI raid his house over it. Why did I have the FBI raid my house over that? Thank you for the super chat. I have no fucking idea about the names you mentioned, but I immediately recognize from the ideas y'all are my people. Yeah, and we have to stick together, man. We have to. Handsome Truth, listen, and I want you guys to clip this. If there's ever a time to get out OBS Studio and clip something, it's now. Because Handsome Truth needs to hear this, man. Handsome Truth is on one hand a very talented man. Very talented man. Very funny guy. Very likable guy. Very entertaining guy. But then he sabotages it with just ridiculous over the top shit. And the fucking guy doesn't know how to play the game. Guy does not know how to play the game. And it's just like, I'm sorry, guys. I got this cough. It's really fucking up the quality of this stream. Not that it's a super high quality stream anyway. I'm using my phone. I don't like doing. It's funny when I set up all the studio and I do like a real stream, it doesn't get that many views. But when I do vertical resolution on my phone, when I do like a real pleb stream, the algorithm like pushes it out more. All right, sleep tight. Akanada. One thing about my my subscribers is they all have usernames that are hard to read. All my subscribers have hard to read usernames. But yeah, if you haven't already, check out Nito Benito. Check out the music he does and all that, because Nito Benito makes good music, especially when he slows down a bit. When his entire purpose of the album is to create some gimmick where there's like, you know, one of my high school teachers in a bikini holding a rifle or something. Those are his worst albums anyway. Those aren't even very good albums, because he's just so focused on, the sexual gimmick of having one of our high school teachers in a bikini holding a rifle, that it really contaminates the music. It makes it not as good. He just gets off on the idea of like making some liberal uncomfortable by having them on the album cover. He really needs to focus on the music. Yeah, I mean, the society we live in is kind of a mental institution, an open air prison, mental institution, flock cameras everywhere. Increasingly, you go to a restaurant like McDonald's or something, and you'll have like bulletproof glass at a freaking McDonald's. You know, I mean, like, that's how you know you're in a low IQ society. Because like robbing a McDonald's, like sticking a gun at somebody gets you pretty serious prison time, and there's not much money in a McDonald's. You know what I mean? So the fact that you have to put bulletproof glass at a McDonald's kind of shows just the level of IQ you have in the society. I mean, that's pretty low IQ people running around with Glock 45s. If you got to put bulletproof glass at the McDonald's, I mean, I wonder if the original founders of the company McDonald's could have envisioned a world where bulletproof glass would be part of their business model. I don't think so. I don't. Can you imagine if you went back in the day and told the original founders of McDonald's, if you're like, hey, in the future, the population will be so retarded that we'll have to have bulletproof glass at the McDonald's, because you'll have people with armed men trying to get the $82 out of the register. You better give me that $82. I want mine. I'm gonna risk 20 years in prison for $82. I mean, imagine that, man. Can you imagine risking 20 years in prison for the $82 in the cash register at McDonald's? I mean, like the retard factor there is just off the charts. You know what I mean? I mean, most criminals, I'm not gonna lie, most criminals are retarded. I'm telling you, this is a person that did 5 years in prison. Well, because think about it, man. You could go, if you're a burglar, okay, and burglary is burglary, and theft is theft, okay? I mean, depending on how much money is worth you steal. But anyways, if you get caught doing a string of burglaries, you're probably like, the going rate for that is you're going to do like 20 years in prison for a string of burglaries. It's very serious. If you're lucky, you'll get 20 years in prison. So that being said, the it's so bad legally getting caught for burglary. It's devastating. So why wouldn't you break into a house of like a multimillionaire's like vacation home? And then you could get like antique Italian vases and lamps and stuff, and like Ming Dynasty bowls and things, and like Andy Warhol paintings or whatever. Like you could really go for the big score, but you're breaking into an apartment in the hood so you can get some money for crack. Like, when you really look at most criminals, like, it's pretty stupid. Like the fact that there's bulletproof glass at the McDonald's or bulletproof glass at Popeye's Chicken. Like, it's literally just, you're not even thinking about where the real money is at. You're just thinking, I got a Glock 45, I'm going to rob something. And you're not thinking about like, okay, so where's the real money at? I know where some real money's at, and it's pretty lightly guarded. I know where some big money is. I'm not going to tell you guys just in case I ever wanted, like, if I was a fugitive, if I was like a fugitive, I'm telling you the place that I would hit up. Oh, I'm not telling you. There's a place that I know very lightly guarded there where there's just like $200,000 just sitting there. And I'm not even going to say where, because if I was like a fugitive, like let's say the government was after me for no reason and I was like a fugitive, that's where I would go is this spot. And I unfortunately I don't want to tell you guys because like if I put this into the stream of consciousness, somebody will go do it and then it will ruin it. Damn, man. You would sit there absolutely obliterated in the folding lawn chair in the middle of grandma's living room screaming obscenities for hours. That's pretty funny. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Most robberies, like people risk decades in prison for a couple bucks, you know? So it's like it's just I mean, to call it low IQ behavior would just be an understatement, you know? Alrighty. Crime is horrible and it happens because weak support systems and bad mental health. No, no, no. Crime is correlated pretty heavily with IQ, actually. They've done pretty extensive studies on that. You know, countries with higher IQs have less crime. There's definitely a correlation between IQ and crime. I mean, I'm sure there's definitely other factors though. But I mean, like the liberals hyperfixate on these other factors. And it's like, well, maybe it's the IQ. And it's like the IQ has been shown to be the main factor, but you know, they hyperfixate on all the other factors. But the elephant in the room is if somebody has low IQ and low impulse control, they're going to make stupid decisions impulsively, right? If like, you know, it's basic like 2 + 2 = 4 logic. It's not like it's not hard to understand. Like if somebody really is being honest with themselves, they can say, okay, low IQ, low impulse control. That means they make stupid decisions impulsively. So stupid decisions impulsively equals criminality, which equals prison. Like it's not difficult to understand. People just make it more difficult than it needs to be. You could have low IQ and low impulse control, and you know, violent crime is more appealing to low IQ and low impulse control just because it requires less thinking and strategy. So, but you know, like stealing from Walmart could be done by somebody with low IQ and low impulse control. But I would say a proclivity for violence is a separate dial, you know, like that's a separate axis, if that makes any sense. That's a separate measurement. You could have a high IQ person that has basically a violence switch, you know, and he might, I mean, you could have a high IQ person that also happens to be violent. It's more rare. But what I will say is, you know, high IQ or low IQ and low impulse control is more likely to be correlated with violence. Definitely. But there are nonviolent people that commit nonviolent crimes that also have low IQ, low impulse control. It's like I said, that's a separate measurement. I mean, white collar crime is not usually done by super low IQ people. Typically not. But white collar crime is, I guess it is becoming more common. Um, but a lot of the white collar criminals that I met in prison were basically they worked hand in hand with the blue collar ones. So the blue collar ones, I broke into this car, I stole all these credit cards, I don't know what to do with them. That's my Plies voice. Hey man, this your boy Plies, man. What happened, man? I broke into all these cars, stole all these credit cards, man. I don't know what to do with them. So I take him to this smart man over here. And that's kind of like what happens. They take him to the smart person, but the smart criminal is like a jewel in the wasteland in prison. You know what I mean? Like he's the guy that makes all the blue collar crimes come together, like all the car hopping and stealing all the people's identities and all that. Like the junkie that breaks into a car doesn't know how to do that. He has to bring all that stuff to somebody that knows what to do with it. So a smart criminal is a rarity. I would say most smart people in 2026 don't want to be criminals, and the reason that is because, like, if you're a smart person, you're thinking about flock cameras, you're thinking about drones, you're thinking about law enforcement systems and AI and basically like they have predictive analytic technology to where they can like determine what your next move is. Like they can run statistical models and try to like determine what you're going to do next and stuff, like all kinds of shit, crazy stuff law enforcement has, even at the lower levels, like on the sheriff level. So if you're a high IQ person, like the higher IQ you are, the more you realize how hard it is to get away with a crime. Like it's not being a criminal in 2026 doesn't make sense. The ROI, I made a video about this. I did a video about the ROI of being a criminal. It's not there. Like the ROI for being a criminal is 100% not there because the risk of getting caught and the consequences of getting caught are not there unless you live in California or New York. Now, that is one thing I will say is in places where liberals take power, they lower the ROI or they lower the risk of getting caught. So the ROI of being a criminal increases. If I live in New York City and you don't even really get prosecuted for shoplifting, then basically the ROI for being a criminal is there. If you live in a corrupt place that, allows criminals to steal stuff and there's no consequences, then a reasonably intelligent person could come to the conclusion that, hell, you might as well shoplift if they're not even going to arrest you for it. A reasonable, intelligent, even a pretty highly intelligent person might think that because they might be an accelerationist and think, okay, like, let's make this really bad. The only way this is going to get better is when it gets worse. So let's become part of the problem. So even a high IQ person could, at some point, if you live in a lawless place and everybody's just taking food off the shelves and not paying for it, why would you pay for it? The store is going to close down anyway. Everything's going to collapse at that point. Like you're basically living in an apocalypse in a way. So, so lowering the risk increases the ROI, like any business, right? So the business of being a criminal is worth it in places like Los Angeles and California. It's not worth it in a place like Florida. So that's why most of the criminals in Florida are low IQ criminals. The majority of them. All the high IQ, listen, I'm telling you, man, all the high IQ criminals in Florida are like business owners and stuff now. They took all their money and they said, okay, we're done being criminals. and I have several friends that are crooks, man. They're criminals. And they took their money and they said, I'm done being a criminal. You can't get away with anything anymore. There's drones, you got flock cameras, you got everybody snitching. Like, it's just impossible. They have perfected the art of catching people in 2026. And so, all the smart people in Florida that used to be criminals and even like mob bosses and stuff, they put their money into like, uh, mainstream stuff. Chat's talking about Ukraine. My chat has a mind of its own. I don't care. I let the chat. Chat can talk about whatever it wants to talk about. Well, I mean, I'm not. I do day trading and stuff. I have investments and I have a dividend portfolio, and I got into crypto back before it was cool when it was really cheap. Um, and so, and I'm not doing crypto anymore. That's the funny thing. Well, the reason I got out of crypto was because I realized like this shit doesn't pay dividends. That's what got me out of it because I really like dividends. I really like something that gives me money 4 times a year, and crypto didn't do that. Right. So if I collect all these dividends over the years and then I liquidate the assets, I get a huge return on investment compared to crypto, which, uh, at this point, I mean, your ROI is huge if you got started when I did, but I mean, like, at this point, I just don't want to fuck with it no more. I took my crypto assets and I put it into a dividend portfolio, and now I got something that spits out money 4 times a year instead of just having a stagnant asset that could just magically lose value. I got something that pays me 4 times a year. Oh yeah, like BlackRock and all that, like Vanguard and BlackRock, and yeah, I would say they definitely are immoral. Like what they're doing with buying up housing and basically like buying up houses that people could live in to increase the value of houses, like to make them more expensive. Got a bunch of empty houses that aren't even being rented out. Like they're literally just keeping houses so that they can manipulate the housing prices and stuff. That's pretty evil, you know. And they need to make that illegal if they haven't already. I think there shouldn't be a limit to like how many houses one private individual can own for his own personal use. But when you have like a shell company that's just buying up hundreds of houses that you're planning on doing nothing with, and you're doing it with the express purpose of like manipulating the housing market, I think that's kind of, you know, like, I don't know, should there be a theoretical limit to how many houses you can own for the greater good? Maybe. I don't think there should be a theoretical. How about this? There shouldn't be a limit to how many houses you can build. But I'm not sure, like, even if you're a billionaire, I'm not sure you should be allowed to buy more than 100 houses. Does that make any sense? Now, you could build as many houses as you want, but buying more than 100 houses, I think, gets degenerate at some point, because at some point you're really just, how many houses do you need? And I think 100 is a realistic number. Like if you're a billionaire, okay, I get it. You got all these women that are pregnant, and so you want to put all of them in these different houses. Okay. But do you need more than 100 houses? And if you need more than 100, then you just need to start building houses. I think you should be able to build as many houses as you want. If you want to buy land and build your own house, but like buying pre-existed houses, I think you should probably be capped at about 100. I think no individual should be able to have more than like 100 houses. 100 houses, unless you want to build your own. Now, if you want to build your own, you should be able to build as many as you want. But buying pre-existing houses, you should be capped at like 100. No, I'm not going to be that extreme. I'm not going to say that you can only have 3 houses. I think if you're a billionaire and you want to have a house in all the countries you visit regularly, you know, you could have a house in like each country or something, or you know, I think you should be able to build as many houses as you want. I'm just concerned about buying up all the houses that already exist and causing a crisis, causing a housing crisis because you're just buying up houses that you're not even renting out. You're literally using it to manipulate the housing market. You shouldn't be able to do that. That's just like Dr. Evil type stuff. That should be illegal, you know. But if I'm a billionaire and I want to buy, say, 300 acres of land and I want to build a village of houses for me and all my concubines, yeah, a billionaire should be able to do that if he wants to. You know, that doesn't hurt society. You know, in fact, if you have a little community, that's actually going to stimulate the local economy, and it's actually you're probably going to help people nearby. You're going to help local businesses and stuff. You know, I don't see any issue with that. You know, I don't hate a man just because he's rich. You know, especially, you know, if the person that's rich is really working on meaningful projects and is really being, see, I'll say this, if there's anybody that's obscenely rich that happens to be listening to this right now, if there's any multimillionaires or you know, people with, and my net worth is not low actually for a 31-year-old. My net worth would actually surprise you guys. I'm not going to say how much money I got, but it's actually more than I should have. I'm doing better than I deserve. Let me put it that way. But I will say this: if there's anybody that has way more money than me, which is plenty of people have way more money than me. Okay, I'm not the richest man in the world by any stretch of the imagination. So the people that have way more money than me, which there's plenty of them, if you happen to be listening to this right now, if you're a wealthy man, my message for you is this: be the leader you're supposed to be. If you're a leader and you have wealth and you have resources, be a good leader for humanity. Do something positive. Actually help people. Lead people. Be the leader. You know, because one thing I will say about money, here's what you guys don't realize. Okay, so I've gotten to a position in life where I have a pretty decent amount of money. Okay. And one thing I can say is the more money you make, it stops becoming about you and it really starts becoming about helping other people. Like, let's say you get to a point where you're financially stable, okay? And let's say you're a gamer, okay? So you got your PC, you got your Xbox, you got your PlayStation, you have all the games and shit, okay? And let's say there's, you know, you've always wanted a 4-wheeler. You've always wanted an ATV. You've always wanted a jet ski. You know, whatever. You've always wanted something like that. And the thing is, when you have the money to buy all the things you want, at some point you're like, let me help other people. You get what I'm saying? It becomes about helping other people. It's no longer about you once you have the resources. Once you have everything you've kind of ever wanted, like I got a house full of tactical gear and I got my computers and I got my Baofeng radios and I got all my toys and I got all my e-bikes and all, you know, and I got all the stuff that I like. I already kind of have everything I've ever wanted. And so I care more about being a leader in the community. It's not really about me at this point. And this is what people don't understand about billionaires. It's like, yes, are billionaires kind of greedy or whatever? Yeah, but not in the way you think. Because a lot of billionaires have a ton of kids and they're trying to support those kids. And a lot of billionaires have lots of friends and they're trying to help their friends. And they have companies they care about and projects they're working on. And so, yes, they're greedy, but it's not the same type of greed as like, it's not like Mr. Krabs greedy. It's a different type of greed. It's they want money to do the things they're passionate about and to help the people they love and stuff. And they're trying to really, I wouldn't say every billionaire is like that, but a lot of billionaires are like that. Yeah, gray man theory has a time and place. I think it's overblown on YouTube, and I think it's kind of silly. In a lot of situations, gray man theory doesn't make any sense. Um, well, a lot of the proponents of the gray man theory say that you want to not be noticed. That's what a lot of the proponents of the gray man theory say. Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. A second ago, the reason I paused a second ago when I was talking about the you ever see a shadow person in your house at like 2 a.m.? You ever see like I really think there's aliens in here right now, guys. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like that's the reason I paused earlier and because I was kind of freaking out because I saw like the torso and the head of something like in my freaking kitchen over there, and then it vanished the moment I saw it. Like the cloaking went into overdrive. It's pretty crazy dealing with like I saw like a dark uh cloaked entity in my house just now. Yeah, I definitely saw it. Speaking of gray man, this is a different type of gray man theory. I think I literally think I just saw a tall gray in my house. I saw what looked like a black, like the silhouette of like a body and a head. I just saw that like in my kitchen, and then it like vanished the moment I saw it. And yeah, and I'll see like little invisible, like in Fallout where like got like the stealth boy. Yeah, I'll see little stealth boy, little characters of stealth boys running around here. So maybe I just got schizophrenia, or maybe it's the non-human intelligences watching me. I don't even know where the schizo begins and where the NHIs begin. I do know that I wholeheartedly believe in grays. I know they're real, but I don't know where the grays begin and where the schizophrenia begins. Because there's a lot of like trauma, including physical trauma, my brain has experienced. From getting like repeated blows to the head and stuff. Uh, no, I saw like when I was talking about a second ago when I was talking about billionaires and how when you get to a certain level in life, wealth accumulation no longer becomes about you; it becomes about helping your family and your community, basically. Um, yeah, when I was talking about that, I looked over and I saw like the shape of the bathroom sign where it's like the silhouette of a body and a head. I like saw that over in my uh kitchen for a second. It was like a black shape, and then it went invisible like the moment I saw it. And that's why I paused while I was saying that, because like I didn't know I didn't want to like freak out and like stop saying what I was saying mid-tier, because I recognize when I see this stuff that it's not something that's going to hurt me. It's the watchers doing their watching, you know. Trust fund kid in prison. My friend is talking to a girl that's a trust fund kid. And yeah, I ran into some people like that in prison. They didn't do all that well in there. Really, just because they were too friendly. Everybody knew they had money, and they were just too friendly. They were too wide open with, like, they didn't know how to play their cards close to the chest. You know, they didn't know how to do that. It's kind of the issue with Grays, basically just remote controlled drones, biochemical clones. I think the short ones are, but I think there's tall ones that are not like that. And I think I had a tall one in my kitchen just now, man. Because I'm telling you, I would take a lot. I'd pass a polygraph that I just saw a weird shape in like my kitchen. I would pass a polygraph on that one. I'm very convinced that I have non-human intelligence beings watching, and I have orbs on my cameras. I did a video where I showed the orbs that are on my cameras, and they float around my property. So, yes. Yeah. Doing DMT, you start really becoming aware of, like, when you do mushrooms, you really start becoming aware of this stuff. And I'm not like a drug guy, okay, at all. And I don't think I'm going to do mushrooms again for another 2 or 3 years. I don't do that stuff. But doing that stuff can unlock certain parts of your brain. You start becoming more aware. You know, the people that want to scare you will claim that guys like me are on a permanent trip. No, it's you've unlocked new things of your brain. You have perception of things that you weren't able to perceive before. And there's things, time and space and dimensions is larger than we can even comprehend. And we're not the only intelligent things that exist. There's aliens, there's interdimensional beings, there's plasmoid beings, there's intelligence all around us that's not human. Non-human intelligence is all around us. And and we've always known it. We just called them angels and demons. And angels and demons is not a bad allegory, because there's good ones and there's bad ones. And they do seem to care about your energy. They seem to maybe feed off of your energy. Your energy does seem to affect them on their dimensional plane. Your energy is a tangible thing, I think, to them. Whereas here, it's just an emotion. It's a chemical in the brain. Whereas in a different dimensional plane, your energy is maybe more meaningful. Your emotions. We might be getting farmed for our emotions. Like, they might be emotionally farming us. The movie Monsters, Inc. was actually a pretty profound movie, because here you have beings that live in another dimension that come out of closets to haunt the kids, and they're harnessing their vril and putting it into a capsule that literally powers their society. So they have a power plant that's literally based off of human fear. The movie Monsters, Inc., it's crazy how such an advanced philosophical concept was being discussed in a children's movie. And then you can take it even further than that. The movie Bugs Life was about a generational tension of resistance to tyranny. You remember the protagonist in Bug's Life was literally like, hey, why are we doing this? And the older generation was like, this is just what we do. And the younger people were really the rebels. And they were, and then the protagonist in the movie Bug's Life was an innovator. He was an inventor. And he didn't want all of his wealth being confiscated by the grasshoppers. And the grasshoppers hated him because they're like, if you let one ant stand up, they might all stand up. So that's my interpretation of the movie Bug's Life. And then my interpretation of Toy Story is, I believe Woody, well, this is kind of, there's different ways of looking at it, but I believe Woody represents the Soviet Union and Buzz kind of represents the West. That one's a little harder to follow. I might lose some people on that. But basically, Woody is afraid of being antiquated and replaced, and he's kind of lashing out. And I think Woody's character changing was supposed to actually represent the fall of the Soviet Union. I think Shrek is pretty based. I think Shrek is a movie about it's a movie about incels and feminists. And then, fairy tale creatures and bureaucrats and politicians. And I think there's definitely some political themes worth unpacking. Farquaad wanted to maintain a ethno state of his own in his own right, and he didn't want fairy tale creatures in his swamp. What are fairy tale creatures? Well, he didn't want fairy tale creatures in his kingdom, so he pushes them all off on Shrek in his swamp. And it's like, you got all these fairy tale creatures. What do you do with them? It's Farquaad doesn't want them. Shrek doesn't want them. So they're displaced. They've been driven out of Dular, I think was the name of the place. And, it's also a movie about chuds and incels and feminists. And I don't know where Donkey fits into all of this. Yeah, I would say Pixar and DreamWorks in the early 2000s, there was actually some almost kind of based messages hidden in some of these movies. Like even Finding Nemo. Okay, you have a movie about not babying. The key takeaway of Finding Nemo was don't baby your freaking kids. Let them figure it out on their own. They don't need you holding your, So Nemo went missing. And Nemo ended up escaping himself. He didn't even really need his dad's help. And Nemo met the badass fish in the tank, and Nemo learned that he doesn't have to be a little daddy's boy. Oh, I can't do it. It's like, yes, you can, and you're gonna have to. You want to be free, right? So they're, and I really like the message of the movie Finding Nemo. That's a powerful message. That's a really powerful message right there. And so, yeah, I think some of the early Pixar movies actually had some based messages hidden in them. There was some radicals. I mean, not super radical, but there were some people that were like not total cucks working at Pixar. Definitely. There was some DreamWorks and Pixar put out some movies that were not totally shitty, that were not, they were based on some levels, like I said, the overall message of Finding Nemo was don't baby your kids and let them figure it out. Let your son figure out how to become a man on his own, and don't spoon feed and baby your kids all their damn life, because then they'll turn into jellyfish blobs. Yeah, I would say Finding Nemo was not a woke movie at all, in my opinion. I mean, maybe slightly, probably some little tiny, but even Half-Life 2 is kind of woke. I mean, Alex is like a mixed girl, and her dad is like a based, awesome black scientist guy. So, I mean, even Half-Life 2 is slightly woke, you know. Well, also, well, no, Nemo survived. Nemo escaped on his own too, and he didn't really even need his dad. And then the turtle taught his dad, like, hey, you know, the turtle literally leaves the his kids on the beach, and then they got to crawl to the ocean. And so that was the turtle's way of telling Nemo's dad, like, hey, you got to let your kids fucking find their own path. That's really what Nemo was about. That was the message there. And Bug's Life was about tyranny, and it was about confiscation of wealth and redistribution of wealth, and the population. If one ant stands up, they might all stand up. And the crickets, the grasshoppers, and Bug's Life were the ruling class. And Shrek is just loaded with serious philosophical questions. Scar from Lion King was an incel. I guess I didn't really think of it that way. This is what we're doing at 3:51 a.m. But hey, to my credit, look, I did wake up at like 1 a.m. Like I went to bed at like 5 p.m. So this isn't that bad. Talking about the movie Bug's Life at 3:51 a.m. Rebel against the boomers. Revolt against the modern boomers. Julia Savola. Revolt against the modern boomers. Revolt against the boomer world. Okay, so what is the political subtext of Bug's Life? No, I'm interested in hearing that. Yeah, I could go for that the grasshoppers were communists and the movie Bug's Life. Oh, I'm going to tell you the nuclear bomb of Bug's Life. I'm going to tell you guys the nuclear bomb of the movie Bug's Life. Okay, this is the nuke about that movie. PT is based off of the real world P.T. Barnum. So there was a little cricket named PT in the movie Bug's Life that ran the circus. There was a real PT in the real life. His name was P.T. Barnum, and he ran a circus, and he ran like some nonsense museums that had some stupid exhibits that weren't even real and stuff. And basically, he was the bread and circuses. So yeah, the movie Bug's Life is definitely a political movie. There's no doubt about it. Like you need to rewatch the movie Bug's Life as an adult, and you'll see you literally have P.T. Barnum is in the movie and cameo. You got cameo P.T. Barnum in the movie. The circus director P.T. Barnum in the movie, and they literally called him PT and everything. So if that doesn't show you, and what P.T. Barnum believed is that there was no such thing as bad publicity, which I believe P.T. Barnum kind of had a point with that. No such thing as bad publicity. I would say the biggest issue with P.T. Barnum is P.T. Barnum kind of paved the way for like school shooters and stuff. That's the main problem with P.T. Barnum. I don't think P.T. Barnum ever realized that, but some people would eventually reach the logical conclusion of if there's no such thing as bad publicity, then you can commit an atrocity for attention. I don't think P.T. Barnum ever knew that his ideas would get like, and your average school shooter doesn't even know who P.T. Barnum is. But I think the unfortunate legacy of P.T. Barnum is the logical conclusion turned into, if there's no such thing as bad publicity, then even an atrocity is good publicity. And I don't really think that's necessarily true. Well, I mean, it's definitely not true. As I found out that, that just went too far. Like the prank really that tied me to an atrocity. That was the P.T. Barnum logic gone mad, even for me. Even though I wasn't really involved in it and it was just a prank, it was still taking P.T. Barnum's idea way too far. Yeah, I would say we don't fully understand the side effects of some of these psychotropic medications, but it's difficult to study because the people that are on psychotropic medications are already fucked up. So it's difficult to know for sure which came first, the chicken or the egg. Are these people already screwed up and already susceptible to shooting things up? Or are the medications making them worse? A growing body of data is saying that the medications are making them worse. That's the growing body of data. There's starting to be more of a scientific consensus on that. So thank you. I'm glad you guys like the stream. And I'm going to try to do streams more often. I'm going to try to, because I find myself, I'm not going to lie to you, I find myself just talking to myself when I'm working in the morning. And I'm like, man, I could be streaming and let the world hear some of the stuff that I have to say. Like I started doing this, I really developed and honed in my charisma, pacing back and forth with nothing to do and these cells that the system puts me in. The system puts you in a jail cell and you don't have any, you don't have any time but to pace back and forth and talk to yourself. And you really develop charisma doing that. You can develop charisma looking at yourself in the mirror while you talk. Yeah, SSRIs, there's a growing body of research that, it's basically a trade-off. You're repressing those emotions and then they come out in a crazy way later. My stepfather was on SSRIs and he hung himself in the garage. He's no longer with us. He committed suicide. So, SSRIs are not something you really want to mess with, in my opinion, unless, I think it's a trade-off. Because here's the deal, right? If somebody's already batshit crazy now, and they're going to do something crazy any day, and you can dull them with some meds, maybe that's a logical trade-off. But if you have the ability to work through your problems, I mean, if somebody needs to be medicated because they're a psycho and they just won't, they're just fucking nuts and they just need to be medicated, that's one thing. But I think too many people that don't even have problems that are that bad are just getting pumped full of pills. Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, okay, let's give you 250 milligrams of this. No, it's like you don't need that. Just work through your problems. Everybody has anxiety. Anxiety, it's a normal part of life. You get anxious. There's like stakes and things. Yeah, I mean, you go to work and you have a meeting with your boss. Oh, I have anxiety. Of course you do. Everybody does. I tell people this all the time. I got this one guy I talked to. I've turned into like a mentor for a lot of these dudes. And I told this guy, I'm like, look, bro, we all feel anxiety. I don't feel any anxiety when I go do some of the stuff I do. Like, of course I do. I deal with it. You don't have to be pumped full of pills. Every little emotional problem, I'm depressed. Okay, why are you depressed? Well, I lost my whole family in a car crash. Well, that would probably make me depressed too. I would lean into it and give yourself permission to feel sad. Your whole family died in a car crash? Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. I would give yourself permission to feel sad for a while. That doesn't mean you need a bunch of pills. That's normal to feel sad. You've just had an enormous amount of loss. Like, you know what I mean? Like these people don't want to feel, and it's like you're gonna feel. It's part of being human. You're gonna feel these things. People don't want to feel sad. People want to be happy all the time. You're not gonna be happy all the time. It's reality. Welcome to real world. You're not gonna feel happy all the time. You know? That's the problem. People want to feel happiness all the time, and you're gonna be sad sometimes. You're gonna like not feel so great sometimes. It's the reality of life. Anybody that tells you otherwise is full of shit. Sometimes you're gonna be sad. Sometimes you're gonna be anxious. Sometimes you're gonna be nervous. Sometimes you're gonna be lonely. These are normal human emotions, and you can't get around them by, oh, let's pump this guy full of pills. You just need some pills. Oh, you're sad? You're sad? Let's give you a bunch of pills. You don't have to feel any sadness in this life ever. Pump you full of pills and you won't be sad anymore. Nope, that's dumb. Yeah, well, I will say that, being sad helps you to appreciate happiness. Yeah, life can be crazy, you know. We have a guy from Siberia in here for real? Yeah, I know where Siberia is. It's like northern Russia, right? Yeah, I'm not like a normal plebeian American that can't point to things on a map. I know exactly where Siberia is. It's like northern Russia, right? Heading toward Asia. I'm looking it up right now. See if I'm right. See if I know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty massive province in Russia. And there's a lot of tribes out there. Gulag. That's where a lot of the gulags were because it was so remote and they wanted to isolate the political prisoners from society. And they wanted it to be a cold place. I'm looking at the map. Like, in my opinion, one of the most mysterious areas of the world are the regions to the north of Mongolia. Like, here's a big spot, really. This is a big region. And it's like, what's going on up here? it's just really mysterious. It's like you look to the north of Mongolia, you look at like Siberia, and you look at like just this big patch of land, and it's like, what is this place? And there's not even that many words on the map, really. Like when you zoom in, there are a few, but it just seems very remote. Okay, well, I'm looking at it on Google Maps. I see a bunch of rivers and lakes and mountains, and this place is like it's just mysterious. It doesn't get talked about enough. Yeah, I'd love to travel there someday. I'm a little bit worried about I don't think the Russian government would like me, you know. But I do plan a trip to I definitely am going to Eastern Europe. That's definitely something I'm planning. Uh well, I've been critical of the Russian government. I've been critical. There's three governments I've been critical of the most in this world, and that's the government of the United States, the government of Russia, and the government of China. Because I think those three countries are more or less the world's superpowers, and those are the countries that I believe cause the most problems. Now, at the center of that, we have a very small country that exacerbates those problems. And I think you know what small country I'm talking about. Very small country that's less than 100 years old that causes a lot of problems with those three empires. But back when I was part of Republic of Florida, I always believed in like busting up these empires and turning them into smaller countries. So I really believe that the United States, China, and Russia should be broken up into smaller countries. I think that would be in the best interest of humanity. Like in the United States, we have a framework for that. It's called secession. We can have states secede from the Union. Okay. And I think we need to have that. I still believe in secession. We need to have, Florida and Texas. And, you know, I think the spheres of influence of Florida, Texas, and California, and then New York could definitely be broken up into their own little smaller, unions or whatever. Like you could have the Northeast could be its own country, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and like could kind of be its own spot. Then you could have like the Texas territories, and then you could have California and Oregon and Washington are kind of their own little spots. And then, you could see how that could work. And then all the states would still be united in a way. They'd still talk to each other, but well, they'd be divided and united. There'd still be a lot of trade. And there's still a lot of history. For example, think about Europe. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be like that, though. It can be more peaceful, and there could still be trade. And see, in the case of Americans, we'd all still be Americans. Like it's not like if we give more sovereignty to the states, it's not like we'd stop being Americans. We're still Americans. It's just I think the states should have more sovereignty. That's more likely to guarantee our liberties. And if there's states that don't care about your liberty, you can leave them and you can go to a free state. Like you can go to Florida or you can go to Texas or you can go to places where they believe in freedom. And you know, and I know the people that live in states like California don't like what I'm saying, giving the states more power. I understand that, but I really believe in states' rights because I believe that that's a way to maintain freedom. I think the states are more likely to maintain freedom than the federal government. Well, Russia, I don't really know what's going to happen with Russia. I don't the future of what Russia is going to look like seems kind of uncertain. I don't know. I mean, they have a very strong unifying national identity. That's one thing they have that I'd say the United States doesn't even really have at this point, because a Russian knows what it means to be a Russian. An American really struggles to tell you what it even means to be an American, your average American, at least. I mean, Thomas Russo with Patriot Front has a pretty clear vision on what it means to be an American, but like your average American doesn't even, like, if you ask them what it means to be an American, they'd be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Whereas if you ask the average Russian what it means to be Russian, he'll be able to tell you. We are the people of Russia. They're going to have like a speech for you. They're going to talk about, to be a Russian is to have the St. Peter's Cathedral. And like, they're going to have like all the different, they're going to talk about all their founders and all their, like Peter and Ivan and all the people that are important to them. Russia willing to die for Putin? Yeah, I mean, it's sad that, in my opinion, a lot of that patriotism has been like misdirected, like, because they really are warriors. They really do have patriotism, but it's like they're being thrown into this meat grinder. I don't think they can win this war. As far as, I really wish the war between Russia and Ukraine would end. I really wish they would come up with some type of agreement. The situation where you have, brothers killing each other, is not, and who benefits from it? Well, China is ancient. That's another thing. Iran is ancient. Iran is thousands of years old. And so you have these ancient empires being told what to do by a little upstart. And the truth is China and Iran could tell you a little thing about running a civilization for 2,000 years. Acting superior to China and Iran, your little 250-year-old country, and meanwhile they've been around for 2,000 years. And I understand the nuances with that. Most Americans don't even get it. Most Americans don't understand any of this. The problem with our society is our ruling class has promoted nihilism and being a plebeian as if it's cool. I mean, if you listen to the music, it's like, have fun, man. Have fun. It's just like nihilism. It's not. And so every kid is in the public education system is just taught how to be a doofus. They're not taught how to like think. They're not taught any real history or any real. I mean, the average person can't point to Siberia on a map. The average American can't point to Siberia on a map. That is embarrassing. And you see that I was able to do that. I know exactly where Siberia is. I know that there's a huge, vast region north of Mongolia. That's always been very mysterious to me. I know there's all these tribes that live out there, and it's always been fascinating to me, Siberia. But, and I know about the history of Eastern Europe. I know about Yugoslavia. I mean, you guys noticed my last name, right? So, it's the thing about Americans is we have become fat, lazy, complacent, and we don't know our history. We don't know our geography. We don't know anything about these other countries and how they feel and what they think. Like, we're lost, man. Like, we don't understand the mindsets of other nations. We don't understand their history. We don't understand, like, you know, like we don't know anything about anybody other than us. You know, like a lot of Americans couldn't tell you anything about even Canada or Mexico, which is right next to them. An alarming number of Americans, if you told them to look for Italy on a map, they couldn't do it. Like, Italy, is the country that's shaped like something. I mean, Italy's shaped like a boot, and it's in the Mediterranean, so I guess people could find it pretty easily. But I mean, I tell you what, a lot of Americans couldn't point to Ukraine on a map. A lot of Americans couldn't point to Afghanistan on a map. A lot of Americans couldn't point to Vietnam on a map. Literally, countries we invaded are, I mean, we didn't invade Ukraine, but you get what I'm saying. Countries that we've invaded, a lot of Americans can't point to on a map. Yeah, like a lot of Americans couldn't point to Greece on a map. This is literally where our architecture and our philosophy came from, and we can't point to it on a map. You know how embarrassing that is? But again, I live in the late stage of the empire, and everybody's fat and lazy and a plebeian and wants to be an NPC and can't point to countries on maps. And it's like, we are just toast if we can't. I mean, and the problem is it's promoted as being cute and funny to be a doofus. Like, there's a whole culture around being a doofus in America. Like, I just kind of go with the flow, You remember the Rick and Morty? Mr. Jellybean tried to grape Morty. Yeah, go with the flow, man. Yeah, exactly. And that's what the ruling class is doing to the people, the people in America. They want you to be some plebeian idiot so they can, go with the flow. Next thing you know, there's a tyrannical dick up your ass. Go with the flow, man. No, just let this happen. Stop being such a fucking tease. Like, that was Rick and Morty. And it's like, it's just it's what they've done to us, man. They've promoted being a doofus. I had this Indian guy. He said, "I'm not Indian. I'm Sri Lankan. I bet you can point to Sri Lanka on a map." I said, "Oh, you mean the little island off the coast of India?" How did you know that? How did you know that? Well, I know the Tamil, where the Tamil Tigers operated, was like north of that, right? So the island is the south of it. How do you know all this? I know everything. I know about your little poopy Diwali ceremony too. I know my dad was an international businessman. He fucking did business in Mumbai and fucking Delhi, and he said there was trash piled all over through the streets, and yeah, I know about basic geography. I mean, I like most people don't know where Tasmania is. Like, if you really want to mess with a normie, be like, I bet you can't point to Tasmania. Like, look for the islands, like Sri Lanka, Tasmania, Madagascar. Like, these are places that, like, most people can't point to on a map, even though their location is pretty iconic. Well, and they're doing it in Canada now. And so it's funny. Canada is proof that, you can move in India to Alberta, and he's still going to, like, if you move a group of Indians to Alberta, right? It's not like they're going to, like, put on cowboy hats, and no, they're going to, like, they're basically, you're going to see all the trash start to pile up in your neighborhood all over again. Like, it's funny. You'd think when you leave India, it's like, okay, we have a fresh start now. Let's not throw trash everywhere. Let's keep this place clean because it is a fresh start. No, they start immediately. Right after they move in the neighborhood, like, they start throwing trash everywhere. Like, what? And I've talked to the Canadians that deal with it. It's like they haven't learned a thing. Like, you've already left India to come to a new country because India is disgusting. Because there's trash and poop in the streets, and I'm just speaking facts. Like, that's how a lot of India looks. That is a fact. That is not, you cannot say I'm being hateful. I'm just stating a fact. That is how India looks, and it smells bad. And there's poop in the street. There's like, you go on like a train in India and there's poop on the floor. like for real, man. It's, you know, and I guess there's some nice areas, but for the most part, like Delhi and Mumbai, there's just trash everywhere. The rivers look like sewers. It is bad, man. And, like, it's just bad. And then they move to Canada and like they don't learn their lesson immediately. They've been in Canada for a few years, and then a neighborhood becomes kind of like an Indian enclave, and there's trash all over the neighborhood in Canada now. So how do you not learn your lesson and then move to another person's country, and then you, instead of respecting their local culture and their local norms, you bring your problems with you? That's what really boggles my mind. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, let's fix America and then we'll worry about other countries. Well, I would say let's not bring other countries to us. Let's not bring their problems to us when we already have a million problems of our own. You know, I tell black people this, bro. I say, look, okay, black people have an issue with white people. Well, how is that issue going to get resolved by importing millions of people from India? It's not. So, you know, I mean, again, bro, we have some kind of, you know, black people or whatever, they have some kind of problem with us that needs to be resolved. That's their perspective. Okay. Well, how does that get solved? By importing a bunch of Indians? And then so at some point, black people need to realize, like, these people, that when they import tons of Hispanics and Indians, they're not going to want to, like, they don't care about the fact that you were a slave 100 years ago or whatever, 150 years ago. So imagine a black person telling an Indian or a Mexican, you know, my ancestors were slaves. The Mexican doesn't care, the Indian doesn't care, and that's the people that are coming in. So, like, what are black people going to do when there's more Indians and Mexicans in the country than white people? Because they're not going to care. Like, oh, you're going to say, like, I was a slave 150 years ago, and the Indian is going to say, I don't care. I do not care. Get out of my store. And then the Indian cop is going to show up. You're under arrest. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have, and I'm telling you, you know who doesn't give a shit that your people were enslaved 150 years ago? Who doesn't give a shit about that? Indians. They don't care about that. I'm telling you, they don't care. They're not sympathetic. You're not going to get any sympathy out of them. You're not going to get any. And who else doesn't care is the people coming from Mexico. They don't care about that. These are social issues that, you know, middle class white people care about. These are not issues that people from India care about. These are not issues that people from, you know, Monterrey or like Mexico City care about. Like, some guy from Guatemala does not want to hear about how your great 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 grandfather was a slave. I'm telling you, like, some guy from Guatemala, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear it. They don't care. The Cubans really don't care. They don't want to hear it. I'm telling you, man, like, the Haitians don't even want to hear it. No, we killed the slave master. You let them enslave you. We killed the slave master. The Haitians don't even care. The Haitians I know are like, you bitch all day about the slavery. We killed the slave master. We even. The white man no owe me nothing. That's what the Haitians I know say. That's why, you know, I know it's fun to shit on the Haitians, but they don't think I owe them anything. I'll say that. All the Haitians I know, you owe me nothing. The French enslaver, we killed the slave master. You owe me nothing. That's what the Haitians say. You know, everyone I talk to. Anyways, that's just my take on American race relations. I think, you know, look, it's not in the best interest of black people to continue the status quo when it comes to American race relations. Like, you don't want these people importing tons of Indians and Mexicans, because that definitely doesn't benefit black people. That's for sure. I mean, that's for sure. Like, if there's any black people listening to this, I'm telling you right now, they if it let me tell you who is not going to be sympathetic. They're not going to be sympathetic at all. They're just not. Even if you met an Indian that had liberal worldview, even if you met a really liberal Indian, he would say, "Well, that is between you and the white man." that's what he would tell you. I got nothing to do with that. That is between you and the white man. You can't say he owes you anything. He didn't do anything to you. I didn't do anything to you. That is between you and the white man. You can talk to the white man about that. You know what I mean? Man, I like doing the Indian voice. It's like I like doing different voices. I like doing the Australian voice too. You're gonna go to the outback. Going to the outback and gonna go looking on a safari, see if he can find some kangaroo on the outback. I'm pretty sure the most based Australians live in like the Northern Territory or like Western Australia, like Northwest, like in the middle of the desert. They'll go say, "Hey, you got a license for that machete? You got a license for that machete, right?" And then the guy living really in the outback would be like, "No, I don't got a license for this either." And he pulls out his AK-47. Bum 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 bum. "No, I don't got a license for this either. Bum 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 bum." There's Australians out there that never turned in their guns. So what I will say, Australians will fight back against globalism. A lot of them will. You guys only see the ones that people think Australia, like the ones in Melbourne and the people in like Victoria and like South Wales and stuff. Okay, they might not fight back that much, but the people that are in like way out in the desert, they fight back. Yeah, Australians fight back, man. And that's one thing I'll say. People make fun of Australia because they passed all the laws, but Australians will just disobey. Like they'll just break the law, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, yeah, they pass as many laws as they want in Australia, but there's a bunch of men living out in the desert with guns, and they're not giving them up, so it doesn't really matter. And same thing with New Zealand. Only difference in New Zealand is gangs are like mainstream in New Zealand. Like gangs are like motorcycle gangs and stuff is like huge in New Zealand, and like they all have the guns basically. And you can get a gun in New Zealand now. See, the thing with Brenton Tarrant kind of changed the landscape of that in New Zealand, but there's still guns all over New Zealand. It's just you have to interface with the motorcycle gangs there to get them. I saw a video about a guy that lived in Papua New Guinea, and he said that like basically there's no government there, and that there's like a stateless society, and that basically tribes have to negotiate and with each other, and that occasionally there's violence, and basically he lives in a place where there's basically like anarchy. I don't know if that's true or not. Is it really like that in Papua New Guinea? Does anybody know? Does any like that'd be I'm sure if there's any Australians in the chat, you'd be able to know that more than me. Cargo cults. Australia. Oh, it's Australia. Okay, I got a random question for you guys. I'm going to ask each continent. We're going to do this continent by continent. So the government is mandating you're going to be given a wife. And each of you, the government is going to give you a wife, okay? But here's the catch. You have to pick. We're going to start with South America first. A country in South America, you're going to be given a wife, but she has to be from one of the countries in South America. I got dibs on Argentina. You can't call Argentina. I already called Argentina. So it has to be a country in South America. You're getting a random wife, a random woman from any country in South America other than Argentina because I already called dibs on it. Yep, Chile. There you go. You're pretty smart. You got the next best thing. I mean, Uruguay, you know. All right, we're going to do America next. Okay. You're getting assigned a random wife. And it's for, you have to pick what state. You're getting a random wife. It might be a fat girl. It might be you're stuck with her forever. You have no choice in the matter. The government is forcing you to marry a woman, but you get to pick what state she's from, and that's the only thing you know about her. What state do you pick? I think I would pick. I'd probably pick Utah. Wyoming's a good pick too. I'd probably pick Utah. You know, I'm thinking like if I'm trying to get a random, like if the government were to force me to marry a girl from any state of my choosing, and the only thing I get to choose is the state, and then I'm assigned a random chick from that state. I'm thinking like, how do I randomly end up with a hot white girl? And so but also like, how do I randomly end up with a hot conservative white girl? So Utah comes to mind because that's where the Mormons live. Yep. And because, if I'm thinking a random hot, sexy white girl that had good nutrition and was raised on good values, I'm thinking Utah, man. That's like the state that comes to mind. Like, that's coming to mind immediately. Like, okay, Utah. You know? But Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming come to mind. South Dakota could be a decent choice. All right, we're going to pick the next country. This is going to be an interesting one. Africa. And I'm going to make it even more interesting. I already called dibs on South Africa. So, yeah, boom, you can't do South Africa. I already called dibs on it. You know? Yep, I already called dibs on South Africa because you could end up with a Boer, a Boer girl if you called South Africa but even then you probably wouldn't end up with one. So you have to have a wife assigned to you. The government is forcing you against your will to have a wife, but it's going to be from Africa. But you get to choose what country she came from, and it's still random. But you get to say, you know. I don't know. I guess Liberia, because at least with Liberia, at least like you kind of have somebody that speaks English and understands. Like their society was founded. They have a constitution similar to the United States Constitution, so you wouldn't be totally dealing with an alien culture. So there you go. The government has forced me against my will. Zimbabwe. All right. Next continent. Asia. Asia. The government is assigning you a wife. You have no choice in who your wife is. It's random. And you can pick any country in Asia. But it's random. You're not going to have any control over who the girl is. You only have control over the country. You can pick India. You can pick China. You can pick Thailand, Myanmar, Mongolia, North Korea, South Korea. I got dibs on North Korea, so. Oh man, Japan should be the obvious choice. I played. Damn, man. I played. Well, I already called dibs on North Korea, so. Okay, now's going to be the best one. Europe. You're being assigned a random wife. The government is forcing you to get married against your will. And you can have a wife from any country, and that's the only thing you can decide is the country she's from in Europe. Okay. Oh man, you said Serbia. I was going to call dibs on Serbia. I'm not going to call dibs on any of them. You're just free to pick whatever. I'm looking at the map. I'm thinking Sweden or Finland. Honestly, I mean, you guys should know, I'm a big tits kind of guy. Is there any European country, a Northern European country, where you got girls with like pretty blue eyes and like big tits? I'm thinking Sweden. Like when I'm thinking of like the Swedish volleyball team, just listen, I doubt that any Swedish volleyball players are like subscribers of mine, but if you are, if you want to come to America, like I'll definitely, like you could use me as your anchor husband. Definitely, if any Swedish volleyball players want to come to America, and get citizenship, you could definitely use me to get citizenship if you put those volleyballs in my face every night. Croatia, what you want to? Croatian women? That's your first choice? You're being assigned a random wife, and the only control you have is what country she came from, and you pick Croatia. That's kind of odd. I'm surprised nobody said Ireland. But then again, I understand why you guys would pick Eastern European countries, because you guys think those women are more conservative, and many of them are, but from what I've heard, it's more about city versus rural. Like the people that live in the cities are not as well. I guess they're all conservative by Western standards. So, all right. So now we're going to move to the Middle East. You're being assigned a random wife, but it has to be the Middle East. I call dibs on Turkey. Oh no shit! I fucking played. Maybe I should have picked. Yeah, well, I already called it, so I'm stuck with Turkey. I probably should have went with. Let's see. I probably should have went with Saudi Arabia. You know? Let's see. I think we ran out of continents. Okay, which country has more hotter women? Iceland or Greenland? I think Iceland. But then again, maybe I'm wrong. Would you rather be forced against your will by the government to be given a random wife from Kazakhstan or Mongolia? Kazakhstan, greatest country in the world. All other countries are run by little girls. Kazakhstan, number one exporter of potassium. All other countries have inferior potassium. Yeah, Iceland girls are pretty hot. Would you rather, if the government was forcing you to get married to a woman against your will, would you rather she be from the Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, or Somalia? Somalia or the Congo? What is it going to be? I got another one. Madagascar or Sri Lanka? Madagascar or Sri Lanka? These are bad choices. All right, I'm going to give you guys a better choice. Australia or Ireland? Australia or Ireland? That's a decent choice. You could be assigned a random wife from Texas or Russia. Would you pick Texas or Russia? I'd pick Texas. Yeah, I'd pick Texas. I want somebody I have something in common with, you know, if I'm forced to marry somebody against my will. All right. The government can assign you a random wife from an island, the Anzu Islands of the East Siberian Sea, some random tribal girl. Okay. Or the government can assign you a random girl from Seattle, Washington. Which do you pick? I think that's obvious. That's a clear one. That's obvious. Yeah. All right. Hawaii, random wife from Hawaii, or random wife from Florida? I think Florida wins that one. No, Florida wins that one. Well, if you go with a Hawaiian girl, she's going to be liberal. If you go with a Florida girl, she might be a redneck. You got a good chance of getting a redneck. Okay. Government is assigning you a wife, guaranteed Central Florida redneck girl, or guaranteed Nebraska redneck girl. Which one do you go with? Nebraska? Okay. I like asking people hypothetical questions. Let's say there was the perfect girl, like absolute 10 out of 10 in looks, but she had one major problem. Let's say she got in a motorcycle accident and she's got like a gnarly battle scar like across her face. Like she looks like she's been in a war. You know what I mean? But she's like 10 out of 10 hot. And let's say there's another girl that's only 80% perfect for you, but she doesn't have that scar. But there's this other 20% that's like not perfect for you. Like she's got some beliefs that are whack. Like she's got some liberal beliefs and stuff. Which one would you date? The one that has the gnarly battle scar that's perfect for you, or would you go with the one that looks like a doll, but you know, she's got some wacky political beliefs? I'd go with the one with the scar. I'm telling you. Yeah. I wonder if there's any hot girls out there that have battle scars like that. I haven't really seen any. I've seen them get face tattoos and stuff, but like I haven't seen that many that have like a real battle scar. You know. Well, anyways, it's 4 a.m. now, guys. I woke up at like 1 a.m., so I got to get to work here soon. I got some work I got to do today, but it was good. It was good talking to you guys. Good doing the morning stream. I might get in the habit of doing this more. I know people like it when I do it, so um, I just want to thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Remember to hit the like button and all that before you go. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Um, JordanJJereb signing off. I'm gonna make some videos today too, so you guys will see me. I'll see you guys around. See you on the next one.